I honestly think Ubisoft believe those of us who played any of their games in the last decade are as dumb as a doornail. Now don't get me wrong, it's great that AC Shadows just got an update that finally tries to fix something that's been lacking for years. But before we really dissect that, I have to say this, and I know some people may disagree with me, but why are people praising Ubisoft for adding things that we literally had in games over a decade ago? And maybe I'm just feeling passionate about this because I've literally just played every single AC game again for a video, but Lord Almighty. And like I've seen a select few people point out, this should literally be the bare minimum. And this type of stuff should have been there since the beginning, and if you're anything like me, I just can't understand why expectations these days are so damn low. And maybe these people just came out their mum's dust puffer and haven't played the whole series, maybe they don't know that games like this exist, or maybe I'm just moaning like a complete bitch who's completely wrong, you tell me. But regardless, as someone who played every single AC recently, and maybe like yourself has been playing these games for way too damn long, is this parkour update actually any good, and does it even come close to recapturing what made the old games so special? Well, here's my honest thoughts. So let's break down what Ubisoft are introducing as new key features to the parkour. So there is the return of side ejects and back ejects, and these moves let you leap sideways or backways off a wall with the goal of feeling more in control. And it does look kind of cool, but if you're anything like me and have been playing these games for a while, it's nothing new, and you could actually do moves like this in some of the earliest Assassin's Creed games. But yeah, it does look more fancy than previous games that do look a bit crusty now, and you can now grab ledges after jumping off a tall-ass building, but to be honest, because of the game's design, it's something you rarely have the opportunity to do, as the map massively lacks tall structures, and I really struggle to even get gameplay of this, as there's so little opportunities to do it. But it's okay, I guess, and it does add an extra element to the parkour. And try not to get too much of a rod on, but now you can manually jump whilst running across a piece of rope. And I guess it's better than not being there, but it won't exactly make you prance around with excitement. And I really don't understand how manual jumping during a free run just still isn't here. Surely it can't be that hard to add, but Christ knows. But here's the bigger issue that gets lost when we only talk about individual moves, and where I think the bigger problem in AC Shadows lies. Some people might find this hard to believe, but older games that are decades old literally had a fundamentally superior parkour system somehow, because it wasn't just about what you could do, but how you did it. And I want you to think back to the Ezio trilogy. And yes, it might be a bit rough around the edges now because of its age, but if you intended to sprint, to climb, or to leap, this gave you, the player, a level of control and predictability that has been completely eroded over time, and it just felt way more satisfying and rewarding. And if you don't believe me, instead of me just sounding like a complete dick and plugging my video I just made, pick up one of these games for yourself, and I promise you will be really surprised.
What would make a man...
Even Assassin's Creed 3, which did introduce way more automation, that didn't really go down well at the time, feels way better than what we have now. While you no longer had the same level of control as seen in previous games, the system just felt way more fluid and responsive, and Connor just seemingly vaulted over obstacles and looked way more badass in ways this Bint would dream of. And this may be controversial to some, but I honestly think automation in AC3 kind of worked well, as it was designed to enhance the flow and just be a bit more user-friendly, but it still required timing and situational awareness to chain moves together seamlessly. And the newer games, in contrast, just feel like you're pushing the stick forward and watching an animation play out. And I just find that it feels a bit stop and starty, and your character can feel like it's sticking to everything whether you want to or not. And I feel like it lacks that feeling of momentum despite all the changes they've made over the years. And don't get me wrong, reintroducing elements we've seen before is fine, but I can't help feel like it's fixing potholes in a road that's completely munted, aka any road you drive down in the UK, as there is an even bigger room in the elephant that we just have to talk about, and that is the setting itself. For over a decade, fans including myself have really wanted a setting like Japan, and Ubisoft finally delivered, but it seems they forgot to ask if this setting actually serves the gameplay that made Assassin's Creed so famous. And if we think back to the series' golden age, the dense vertical cityscapes of Florence and Paris weren't just backdrops, they were essentially entire playgrounds. And I think what made them so special was how they were packed so tightly together, so you could create a seamless parkour run from one end of the city to the other. And when Mirage released, Baghdad kinda felt like the cities of old, with it being more dense and less about being a huge open world, but more of a condensed packed one with plenty of structures to climb. And despite its flaws, I feel like it got that completely right. But now look at Japan. Yes, it's beautiful, no doubt, but it's a world of countless fields, bamboo forests, and towns made largely of 1 or 2 story structures. And there are no cathedrals or 6-story apartment blocks, and the world simply isn't built for the same kind of freedom. And by choosing to design the setting this way, Ubisoft kind of nerfed their own core mechanic that fans have really started to want again. And even if they did drastically improve movement through updates, unless they add another map through a DLC, the world they've made is always going to work against what they're trying to become again, and what fans have been asking for. And honestly, I feel like the decision to add a major parkour update to Mirage out of nowhere kind of speaks volumes, as why invest more resources into a 2-year-old game instead of putting all that effort into Shadows? And one possible explanation is that Mirage simply has a more suitable setting for it. However, regardless of all this, is this update actually any good, and is the game worth loading up again or for the first time? So there are new corrupted castles and golden weapons, which are a nice free addition I guess, but my biggest problem isn't just with AC Shadows, but with many modern games these days, and that is the exhausting cycle. A studio gets a formula completely right, but then years later, the sequels somehow get progressively worse, then they start slowly adding features back in that were there a decade ago, only now that they aren't there at launch and you have to wait for them. And when you do finally get them, they somehow feel like a shadow of their former selves. And I'm just getting sick of it, to be quite honest. And if you didn't like Shadows beforehand, despite what you might see online, these changes are actually really minor and it won't change your mind. And if you did like the game, this update might be worth checking out if you were quaking in your boots to grab ledges or perform flipping side ejects again, but I really don't think it's something worth praising for, and maybe you agree with me. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I would love to know what you think about this, and to see my breakdown of what Assassin's Creed game truly had the best parkour, and whether nostalgia has played a part or not, just click the video on screen, you definitely don't want to miss this. Thank you guys for watching as always, and I'll see you next time.